Welcome to the Leadership Corner. My name is Ki Liu and I am the Senior Director for the Disaster Management Leadership Academy at Tulane University. The Leadership Corner is a forum where leaders from the non-governmental organizations, United Nations, and local and national authorities can come together to share their insights, experiences, and motivations to provide assistance to people and communities affected by disasters. In 2005, when Ellen Johnson Sirleaf was elected as president in Liberia, her victory marked the end of a 14-year civil war that caused more than 250,000 deaths. Today, former Liberian President Charles Taylor is facing 11 counts relating to murder, rape, sexual slavery, and mutilation of civilians by rebels in Sierra Leone. President Taylor is currently being tried in The Hague. There is now hope and optimism that effective leadership can bring about permanent and positive change in Liberia. This was not always the case, and this was not the reality when our guest, Ambassador John Blaney, was first appointed as U.S. Ambassador to Liberia in 2002. Ambassador Blaney served from 2002 to 2005 and successfully led efforts to end the civil war in Liberia. Ambassador Blaney also played a key role in bringing about the democratic and peaceful transition of power in Liberia. For his accomplishments, Ambassador Blaney received the President's Distinguished Service Award and the Secretary of State's Distinguished Honor Award, which is the highest decoration in the State Department. Ambassador Blaney, welcome to the Leadership Corner.
Well, thank you, Key. I'm very glad to be here.
Great. Ambassador Blaney, the first question I think we all have here is that as an Army officer and a teacher at West Point, what motivated you to join the Foreign Service?
Well, I was teaching classes at West Point, the plebes, many years ago, and I had become intrigued as an Army officer with foreign affairs as moving around there. I was stationed in Korea, and I decided that I wanted to see the world. Now, I didn't realize that there was any sort of an exam system to get into the Foreign Service, so I announced to my classes in West Point that I was going down to enlist in it. And well, I found out there were more jumps to it than that, and so I had to get some good advice, which I did get from the Foreign Service and from Georgetown University, joined Georgetown's master's program, and eventually passed the exams. But my motivation was to see more of the world.
Great. And what, as a follow-on question to that, what was the State Department like? What was happening when you joined the Foreign Service?
When I joined the Foreign Service, of course, it was in the post-Vietnam War era, 1976, and there were lots of people who were trying to figure out what sort of action paradigm we would use in that post-Vietnam period. There was lots of trauma involved at that time, and so we were looking, myself, just to get along as a very junior Foreign Service officer, but I did notice that there was a sense of looking for some new operational paradigm in this post-Vietnam era.
Mm-hmm. Great. Now, Ambassador, you have had a very distinguished career. You have been Minister Counselor in Moscow, the U.S. Deputy Representative to ECOSOC, the United Nations, the Department of State's Country Director for Southern Africa, the U.S. Deputy Chief of Mission and Chargé d'Affaires in South Africa, and the list goes on. What do you think were your core strengths that helped you prepare and advance from one position to the next?
I had a number of very fine mentors and bosses throughout my service, and my wife was principal among those. Mm-hmm. But I also had people who were role models for me and that I studied and how they conducted themselves. My experiences also counted because I was just fortunate enough to be able to have time in a number of different regions and with a number of different bureaucracies. And I think it's very important not to get cubbyholed into one place for a very, very long period of time, but rather move both geographically and functionally into a number of topics so you can have an interdisciplinary approach to the way that you lead and the way that you do your job when it's time for you to take charge of things later in your career.
Given the changing environment and the complex nature, whether you were in Moscow or whether you were in South Africa, do you believe that there were certain core strengths that you had perhaps missing from your portfolio that through on-the-job experiences, that through interaction with colleagues and mentors, that you were able to strengthen in that process?
Yes, I think chief among those was persistence, the quality of persistence. And although much of my career I learned that on the ground because I was really out there in the field a lot, I learned it through my day-to-day experiences. For example, in Moscow, I was living in the tail end of the old Soviet Union, and in order to get information to Washington, I had to go out and see what was going on. Well, the security apparatus of the old Soviet Union, the KGB, didn't like that so much. So I learned to be very persistent about getting out there, meeting the people who could tell me really what was going on as the Soviet Union was disintegrating, so I could get the word back to the United States. And I think that put me in good stead for difficult situations later in my career.
Great, great.